Hello, 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 hello. Hello to my doggy over there. Good day, everybody. Hold on while I'm getting things started here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. So glad to be hosting this show so you can be entertained and educated on this Monday, June 23rd, 2025. That's right. The year is almost halfway over, ladies and gentlemen. The stores are loading up for Christmas already. Forget Halloween, forget Thanksgiving. They're already bringing in that stuff from China ahead of the tariffs. Sell you junk for Christmas. But that's good for the markets because we're a consumer-based economy. You know what else is good for the markets? Bitcoin. Bitcoin bringing some independence to the financial world, or to us. But as the theme of the show says here, what is this? What is the theme of the show, Tom? What is the theme of the show? Here it is. Bitcoin targets Wall Street. Why would Bitcoin need to target Wall Street? Why would they need to do that? And who is they? They is us, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin is targeting Wall Street. I'll be talking about this a little bit here during the day, hopefully to generate some content for some shorts that'll work. But Bitcoin is taking over Wall Street in all aspects of the thought processes. As Wall Street hires more junior traders that have crypto experience, more junior risk managers that have grown up with crypto and Bitcoin, or grown up with their parents in it or something like that, Striking Junior. They bring in more opinions about Bitcoin and more comfort level with it. And that drives the companies to do more. And as we'll talk about later in the show, after we talk about cryptos and pricing and all that fun stuff, how Bitcoin is taking over Wall Street and what ways they're doing that. It's a pretty interesting thing. It's as one person put it, and this is what I used to explain. A lot of people say, Tom, what is going on with this Bitcoiny thing? This crypto scam thing seems to be getting pretty big. What is the story with it? I just tell them, I said, look, forget all the crypto stuff behind it. It's like trying to explain corporate or municipal bonds, tax-free municipal bonds to people. It's like, well, they don't understand the whole premise of it first, so explaining the tax-free part of it doesn't make any sense. All they need to tell them is it's the largest transfer of wealth and value from one asset class to another. And it's doing that at a rate faster than the growth in the S&P 500 and faster than your mutual fund. So if you want to benefit from Bitcoin and the overall crypto market growing, and you want to explain it to your parents, you want to explain it to everyone else, said first thing you need to understand is that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is an asset class that is new. And it was very small for a long time. But now, with money flowing out of stocks, out of bonds, out of people's pockets, into cryptocurrency, it's growing faster than the market. And when something's growing faster than the market, people put their money in it, and it grows and grows and grows until it equalizes. And one day it will equalize. That day is far off. There are, what does Pedro talk about? Oh, by the way, Pedro's going to be late for the show today. That's why I have not introduced my friend and co-host, Pedro Garcia. But anyway, I also didn't put up the graphics. Just call me Mr. Dumas here. For those of you who commented, I've already missed those comments. But let me bring him up here. Good morning, Alpha Wolf. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. I can't get your comment on screen because I launched my software after you commented. So go ahead and comment again. Anyway, as I was explaining, if Pedro here, let's do it the right way here. Let's do it there. We'll ramble on here until Pedro shows up. Let's go to charts. Let's go to Tom's screen. Total crypto market cap here. It's not the total crypto market cap on a 1-minute chart. I don't think that's a good one here. Let's do weekly chart. All right, so this is the best way to explain what's going on. Oh, there's Pedro. But that was only a picture. If you want to talk to your parents, if you want to talk to your kids, you want to talk to your college professor, if you want to talk to any of those knuckleheads over on Threads or Blue Sky that just rip crypto and call it a scam. I don't know what happened there. This button is the right button. This would be the total market cap. Let me get the graphics machine going here. Let's do this right. Normally Pedro is doing this, doing his thing while I get these things set up. Let's see, symbol, crypto, total market cap. Now we can do that, boom, boom. Put that up. Now it should come up here. All right, now we're somebody now. Crypto Mike in the house, what up, bitches? Just me, so bitch. Pedro will be with us shortly. Anyway, this is what I'm explaining. Mike and AI Alpha Wolf, you guys listening, one of the things that I like to tell people, and we're on the topic of why Bitcoin is taking over Wall Street here, and I'm going to go through this before Pedro comes on, because it's the largest transfer of wealth from any asset class to another en masse, however you want to say it, in the history of Wall Street. Maybe long ago there was something, but the money was smaller, and now with the amount of money, it's larger, it's growing. Here's cryptocurrency total, it's measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars, measured in millions, measured in billions. Yeah, Alpha Wolf, you can always go over to Rumble and find us. And then the first super pump in the markets here, and that, look, it's just growing like crazy. Just like crazy, it's growing, 100% a year, or whatever the growth rate is. It's a lot. The NASDAQ, S&P 500, your mutual funds, your 401k accounts, your IRA plans, all those types of things are growing at between 5 and 7% a year on average. In the past couple of years, it did really well because the stock market's boomed. But over time, it averages, just over 5%, 6% growth a year. And this is hammering it. Just hammering it, ladies and gentlemen. This is all of crypto going in there. And if you take any slice of time here, it hammers it. It just hammers the stock market. And so it's not just because these great new products. It's not just because they're things people don't understand. It's because it's a transfer of wealth. People are taking money from stocks, bonds, and so forth, and putting them into crypto, digital assets. You're not even going to believe the value that's going to go into stable coins in the coming future once this Genius Act gets passed. And the amount of money that goes into stable coins, people are going to start paying everything in stable coins, and funding. Banks are going to. It's going to explode, and it'll probably put most sovereign nations' currencies done. Will be finished. That's my prediction. Why run your own whole currency for your little country in Central America or South America when you can use stable coins that are essentially free to use, and you don't need to run any monetary policy at all? I know it's more complicated than that. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that, hold on, my graphics machine is still a little wrong here. I got too big, 1.25. Oh, anyway, let's hit Crypto Mike up with the, I don't have the sound effects machine. Let's see if we can get that going without overloading the computer here today. So you gotta type out every message, then if somebody texts you and you have to go off screen, you can't listen, I'm just gonna have to start going to your Twitch account. Twitch or Rumble's better. Rumble, you can hear it on the if you don't have, even if you don't pay, when you minimize it goes to a little window. You don't have to, you can listen to it in the background. Give me 1 second while the software starts up here. There we go. That's right, Crypto Mike gave you the O Canada. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit here today. Where is my... That should fix it. That should fix it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, sorry about that. My software choked on that a little bit. Anyway, why does it matter that Wall Street care about Bitcoin? And I was talking about this transfer of wealth. You know, this looks just like the Bitcoin chart because essentially the Bitcoin dominance is really high and most of crypto is Bitcoin at this point. Someday that will change. For those of you skeptics that do watch this show, this is the only chart you need to know. This is the chart from 2009 or earlier to today. And to see how the amount of dollars, US dollars, or all currencies combined, translated into US dollars is now 3.06 trillion. It's been as high as 3.5 trillion. It'll hit that pretty soon when altcoins come back. When more money comes into stable coins, this thing's gonna go another trillion at least. So you can just say, do you wanna be part of this? Mom, Dad, Cousin Eddie, whomever, do you wanna be part of this transfer of wealth? Do you wanna participate in the growth that is far above what you earn in your mutual fund? And it will keep doing this until it's not. I mean, that's kind of easy to say. Oh, it's going to do it until it doesn't. It's going to do this until there's no more money to transfer over into crypto, meaning when it balances out, like the stock market, and it balances out based on risk. And if the cryptocurrency market and Bitcoin are a very stable risk, money will flow into it just like it does into the stock market. People will start allocating, all right, 20% of my money that comes out of my paycheck that goes into my retirement, I want it allocated to mutual funds, stock markets, 20% to fixed income stuff, 20% to whatever, beer money, and 20% to into cryptocurrency or digital assets, as we'll call them in the future. And so, I mean, in my own family, I've had that problem. People have asked me, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And they asked it here. Then they asked it here again. Then they asked me here. Then they asked me here. And then they're like, oh, it's dipping. And then they asked me here. And I keep telling them, it's a transfer of wealth from the stock market over here. That's what it is. There's Alpha on Rumble. Thank you very much. Crypto Mike on Rumble too. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Appreciate the Rumble views. And thanks to those of you watching on Twitch. There's 2 of you over there. I appreciate that for sure. Here, let me check on the old Twitch. Why is that not signed in? Why am I not signed into Twitch? One second, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, when Pedro's not here, I'm usually doing all these things behind the scenes while he's giving his BTC review. But anyway, let's see if we get. Oh, you know what? See, even Pedro's not here, but I have to do a little money making. Ladies and gentlemen, have you still not tried 1775 coffee yet? Now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. It's like Bitcoin, scarce, limited. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check. The smooth medium roast and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. Nope. No. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus you're also getting a gold spoon clip. Why? Because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. No microplastics for us freedom lovers. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. I love it. My mother-in-law and I actually see eye to eye on politics. Let's see, you also get a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. 1775coffee.com/studio. Also, over here, QR code. Do us a favor, AI Wolf, Crypto, Mike. Can you guys click that? Or click the link in the chat? And let 1775 know that our viewers do click the links, and hopefully one of these days, one of those will turn into some sales. But anyway, thanks to 1775coffee.com and to Rumble for allowing us to participate in ad reading. Got to have so many viewers to do that, and we got them. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we got them. Oh, Alpha Wolf's back at it. So I launched that token with somebody else on Fun yesterday afternoon. We didn't even think anyone would buy it. It was kind of like a bet started. The token, we're like, nobody's going to buy it. Woke up this morning, we had a nice market cap, so we got a TG. And so we got TG. We're not going to close it down as long as it's active and people are interested. We'll keep the project moving. And if it goes into a positive direction for the investors, then we'll keep on pushing it. Alpha Wolf, you're always welcome to drop your alpha here. Ladies and gentlemen, connect with AI Alpha Wolf on Telegram. Same name. If you go into our Telegram, the link at the bottom in the body here, you can find a link to that, and you can look up AI Alpha Wolf and talk to him about the projects. Projects that he's working on. He's always, I call him the hardest working man in crypto. Alpha Wolf's always on the prowl looking for stuff. And as his education level has come up, he went from investing into other people's crappy products and getting rugged, investing in other people's crappy products and having to do CTOs because the guys guys and gals took all the money and ran. And then said, enough, I'm going to do my own projects. So he did. Hold on, let me just check behind the scenes, see if Pedro's coming on yet. Nope. All right, well, let's hit... I'm going to kind of finish off my talk about Bitcoin and Wall Street. As most of you know, I'm going to bring this up here. Not that one. Not that one. This one. Anyway, as most of you know, that's what I just said, Michael Saylor and his company Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, is buying Bitcoin, and buying it so much that I thought it was just, I'm a rich CEO guy, and so I'm going to put tons of the money in Bitcoin and make billions on it. But he's actually much more detailed than that. And I finally listened to a speech in which he said, look, he said, for a while there, before dollars were traded or fiat currencies, gold was traded. Before gold was traded, food was traded. And then, like I said, they couldn't carry around their goats all the time, and so they said, all right, we need something else that's valuable. And people, said, well, this gold is valuable. It's hard to come about. It's pretty. You can mold it into jewelry and crowns, and royal people like it. So that became the method of settlement, and everything traded above it. Notes from bank to bank, notes between rich people or between vendors, and them talking way back in the day. And then eventually they'd all bring their notes to someone that had a lot of gold and trade their notes for the gold. And that's how you ended up with currencies based on the gold standard. And he said eventually there's going to be a Bitcoin settlement layer in which products based on Bitcoin will trade. Corporate debt based on Bitcoin, corporate equities based on Bitcoin, municipal debt based on Bitcoin, and other fiats of sorts that are based on Bitcoin, kind of a Bitcoin-backed dollar, or we'll just call it a sailor, one sailor. And his company is positioned to deliver all of those products. I finally got it. And it's a public company on Wall Street. And so now you see a bunch of other companies doing it. So essentially, the early adopting phase, in fact, before the early adopting phase, the testers market, the early adopters, are moving towards a Bitcoin settlement layer as the basis for value and wealth. And so Wall Street is rushing right into it otherwise, too. You see that what's known as SPACs, special purpose acquisition companies, which are companies that go public but have nothing, zero, just that they're public companies, and money behind them so they can buy a company, bring it public without any of the rigmarole of taking an original company public. I don't really like that, but they exist. And you see that happening in the Bitcoin world now. You see governments like El Salvador issuing bond offerings, Bitcoin. One of the German banks has done that too, a bond offering in Bitcoin. Anyway, that's beside the point. The point is that all these new products are coming out, and it's feeding. Where's my trading view kit? Why does it say disconnected? It's feeding this. It's feeding the largest transfer of wealth from stocks and bonds and other derivatives into the digital asset world, and that is the kind of the important part of this. And you see, when you look at patents, who's developing the most patents at the patent office right now? Financial products, specifically, the largest category. The last time I looked at it, it was maybe different now. Pharmaceutical has tons of patents. Are banks and other financial firms developing products? There's pretty much nothing you can do crypto-wise now that someone's not going to be claiming a patent on. That hopefully will get challenged. Bitcoin going down a little bit here. And so all of these companies, banks, trading firms, investment houses, they're all planning on products based on Bitcoin and other digital assets. Every one of them. And anyone that's not is going to be left behind, and they all know it. It took a long time. It took the change of administration. I mean, many of these companies that started, they're planning groups, they're research groups. I mean, every bank has a research group. They all filed for patents. Bank of America had something like 300 patents. JP Morgan, another 200, something like that. Even under the old administration, JP Morgan started their Onyx system, which is an in-house blockchain that's permissioned, basically only their clients and other people they allow on it. It's not a speculating blockchain. It's just meant for moving assets around the company and between clients. And it's worked. They've put trillions of dollars through it. Western Union, these MoneyGram people, behind the scenes, they're moving towards blockchain to move money around in their company because it's faster, cheaper. They don't have to rely on banks. All these things are happening, and the banks are realizing slowly that their basic bread and butter of holding people's cash is challenged. Thus, their push for research, patents, all this type of stuff. And the money being poured into it is a lot of money. And all these fintechs that are starting that have unbelievable salaries. I mean, these people are making, like, these fintech startups, they get people making, they're paying them $300,000. Well, thank you, Mike, for watching on Rumble. I forgot how good it is. It is good. They do provide a good experience over there. Works well. But these venture capital firms are backing companies that are paying a lot of money to their employees because they're trying to attract talent that they believe either in skill or in face. Hey, my face, you can pay me that if you want. Is able to bring their product to market first before the competitors, because in this business, first wins, or at least gets most of the market cap. Like Bitcoin is, 75% of the market cap here, and so the money being poured into it's amazing. Remember, friends, family, I don't get this crypto Bitcoin stuff. You just say, imagine there's $40 trillion in stocks, and there's nothing in digital assets. And digital assets are growing because people are moving part of that 40 trillion into it, into this little thing here, and it's growing quickly. It's growing faster than the 40 trillion. And so do you want to be in on that or not? The answer is yes, then good. All right, let's switch over to Bitcoin, taking a dump here. Unfortunately. Wow. Let's bring up the... I got to watching the show here, getting ready for the show without Pedro, and I've got a trade on that's losing. Losing, and I'll tell you all about it in just a minute. Let me get the prices going here. It should come up here in a second here. Yeah, Mike, that's a great question, because right now the stablecoins, stablecoin acts really reference backing them with with U.S. Treasuries. Now, who's to say in the future U.S. Treasuries aren't based on Bitcoin? You know, that would be far off. I mean, far off. But you have to think about it. You have to think about it this way: if the economy you participate in is U.S. dollars, then the stable coins are based on the U.S. dollars. If the economy that you participate in and your government participates in and the businesses around you participate in are based on Bitcoin, then Bitcoin is your real life. You know, the value you have and everything you own, you get paid in and you spend in is based on the value of Bitcoin. And the US dollar is like a foreign currency with an exchange rate. Then yes, then stable coins in that economy would be based on that. Now I see Pedro coming on here. He'll be with us in a minute. So I hope that answers your question, Mike. The answer is like, will people pay for things in Bitcoin when people offer things for sale in Bitcoin? Or in a another crypto that settles in Bitcoin that's faster. Pedro, I can hear you, sir. All right, just take your time. I'm just rambling up here. Ladies and gentlemen, Pedro Garcia will be with us shortly. He just got back from doing some things that took longer than planned, and he will be with us as soon as he gets the old computer giving us the 1-2. But anyway, while he's doing that, I am just going to talk to you about Bitcoin and what's going on with it here. I do have a long trade on now. In fact, I put it on earlier when there was a little bull flag, which, from looking at it, had all the right things going for it. Right here, as you can see, I switched my chart to no more red candles. I switched them to white as a thing. All right, Pedro will be with these coming up here in a second. And I put the trade on here right in this. No. Brush. Right here in this bull flag here. And it didn't break up, it broke down. And now I am down a whole $15. This is a big trade, ladies and gentlemen. A big trade. Anyway, let me bring Pedro to the oh, he appeared above my head here. Let me bring his mic up here, Pedro. There's my friend and co-host, Pedro Garcia. Ladies and gentlemen, the man in the box above me, Pedro Garcia, crypto chart analyst. Pedro, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How is everybody? How was your weekend, Tom? Everything was good?
Yeah, you know what? I don't even recall what I did this weekend. That's how relaxing it was.
Wow.
We didn't go anywhere. We didn't drive to Toronto, or we didn't have a fire in our building.
Yeah, that's always good.
Nothing going on. We did a couple of walks out in the park. Took the dog out for a walk. That type of stuff. Cooked steak last night. We went out with friends on Friday, I believe. Yes, it was Friday. Had a little fun, but not too much. It was a relatively quiet weekend. Pedro, how was yours? Is your car situation straightened out?
Mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So,
ladies and gentlemen, here's some advice to all of you. Don't crash your car, because it's a pain in the keister to straighten out that whole situation. Isn't that right, Pedro?
Yeah, well, especially when you're fighting with an insurance company in Connecticut. The rule is, if you hit somebody in the back, you're automatically at fault. There is no recourse. So everybody knows, don't hit somebody in the back. So if you have to veer off to the left or to the right, make sure you don't hit it. If you got to go right, make sure you don't go on oncoming traffic, but just, you know what I'm saying? Avoid the car accident from behind. Well, USAA literally is saying, because I avoided the accident and I did not hit him in the back, I am at fault because I caused the car accident where my car hit a sign. Anyway, so I have to sit there and I have to fight these people in small claims court and setting all that up. It's just, yeah. Okay. And it's just, and the rudeness of the my person who is refusing to even, I'm just like, I'm telling you, if you fight this, you're going to spend more money in legal fees, and you will have to pay out. Just go look at the law. Like, you'll see what I'm talking about. She's like, she literally said, I will see you in court.
Well, because they hope you don't show up.
Yeah,
they hope you give up. 90% of the people give up. So they love doing that. Like, yeah, let's go to court. And the people see the costs and they go, screw it.
No, not this
Not
guy.
Pedro. Pedro's a man of principle.
Yeah, it sounds horrible, but I refuse to pay for trading view because they're literally nickel and diming people. Like, they're taking away things and adding on to higher tiers, and it's like,
yeah, that's
really?
You're
gonna do that now?
I guess I will not continue trying to get them to sponsor us then.
No, if they decide to sponsor us, I have no problem. Then
no,
okay.
I mean, if they're listening, going, no, they're not talking. They're talking shit about us. Mike, crypto. Hold on, Crypto Mike says. He says, will they back stable coins with BTC? I was talking about that. If you lived in a BTC economy, it was right when you were coming on, that would be something. He said, I heard some dude talking that in the future they might back the US dollar with BTC. The answer to that is no, but also maybe, or sort of. Obviously, the US dollar now is backed by me and Pedro. By the U.S. citizens. We're literally on the hook for our debt. If the government defaults, we got to pay our share. And the currency is based on our productivity and our GDP and all this type of stuff. It couldn't possibly be backed by gold because there's just not enough gold in the world at this size of economy for us and China and all these other people to use gold. But could it be backed by BTC? No, because the government isn't going to do that because they can't mess with it. They can't
monetize.
They can't. It's BTC is BTC. They can't mess with it. Right. However, that doesn't mean that they wouldn't keep a whole bunch of it on their balance sheet. And so that, in the day when Bitcoin's worth, $1 billion each, that big chunk of money is on the U.S. government's balance sheet, and that helps. That helps with our credit ratings. That helps with all types of stuff. There are costs to borrow money and that. Anyway, Pedro, welcome to the show. I was just getting ready to talk about Bitcoin, but I don't have to now because Pedro Damas is here. But we're seeing a more continued downtrend. The weekend was, you like to see weekends, nothing happens. Just nothing happens. And on Sunday,
no, not this weekend.
And on Sunday, it just kept going down and down and down. There was hope. There was hope on Monday morning, but there was more blowing stuff up. There was more this and that. There was more tweeting this and tweeting that, and suddenly the market says, I still want to think about going down. What is the great Pedro Damas going to tell us about Bitcoin this morning?
Awesome. Well, we already know that it was going to go down. I always tell everybody, wars, situations are the cause that actually are the catalyst that cause the market to move. But the truth is all of those people, all of them, and I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but how many times have I called, expect news to come out because the market and its liquidity is going away? And how many times we've seen us break out into war, or, I mean, it's and we've done this now I've done this now multiple times, like 5-6 times now, and it's always crazy. Back here when I said, all right, we're coming back up here, we're running out of liquidity. Remember this? I said this area right here is, well, we might go back to the top, create an all-time high where we could hit this liquidity, or we're going to hit this and it's going to come down. And when I started seeing us pick up, I said, oh, we might go up. I said we might hit this area. But then once we saw this come in, I said expect us to go down. Once we weren't able to get above that 8 and 20 period moving average, as we hit, remember I talked about the snail?
Yes.
Remember this area right here, this pullback into the crossover? I said expect us to go down. And I said this area right here, the 112.6 660 area, and I said, good thing it's not 666, right? And I said, but expect it to go up a little. This is where we're going to take one of our trades, right? And then we hit it again and came down over the weekend. When we hit this area right here, right, you can see we bounced up a little, but again, it had already been traded through. I said the lower area here, the 91, 92 area, was one of the areas that I expected where there's a lot of liquidity. So we had expected to come down and pull the liquidity. And so the banksters and the rulers of this world, or whoever they are, right, said we need the market to go down so we can pick up for Bitcoin here. Now that Bitcoin is a juggernaut and everybody wants it, everybody and their mother, they want to pick it up for the cheap. So they're using, and again, I hate to say the war, the situation, whatever, but they're pushing the market down, as you can see, as we come down into this lower level of 92, 91. Now, if we continue down below this area, which we may, then we could hit that 93, 97 area. If we escalate and now we get into a war with America and Iran and Israel, then expect this thing to go down. Now, obviously, we need to consider crude oil, which we will go over tomorrow, and a few other ancillary markets that will allow us to be able to kind of analyze what's actually happening from all of the major movements. But we need to look at all the splintering of the market so we can gauge which direction they're going to really try to push gold, or not gold, but Bitcoin down. But ultimately, the next liquidity areas are down right here at this low, that 98, and potentially down that 91. And I would say if things heat up in the Middle East, we could see this thing really start to come down at these lower levels. So that's in a nutshell.
All right, Pedro, is browser froze right when you started to do that. Anyway,
wait, my browser froze?
No, mine.
Oh, okay.
Like the one that does the studio broadcasting, and it.
Nobody heard anything?
No, it's still going. I'm monitoring it just fine, but I was trying to figure out why. And something's taking up all. Oh, that's why.
All of your bandwidth?
No, the memory. When memory usage gets too high on these browsers, for some reason, cryptocurrency things like TradingView and Mexi and all these people, they got so much going on. They don't really program their tabs
it for low.
to be really good with utilizing RAM, and they overwhelm your system pretty quickly.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have the same issue. I mean, I have literally all of these. I put these to sleep, but I literally have almost 15 different.
Can you manually put them to sleep?
I thought if you don't touch them.
Yeah, there's a timeout, but I was wondering if you can manually put them to sleep. That would be nice.
Oh, I don't know. That. I think there might be. Check up. Maybe you could check on that and see what's up. So
no, put really, that in the notes to say. Anyway, but so the point is that it looks like we're starting the Monday on a downturn.
Yes.
So what's that telling us?
Yeah. So this is where you need to really take fundamental and macro analysis over sometimes technical analysis, because a tweet from Donald Trump can turn my up into down and my weak analysis kind of upside down. So now from a tech standpoint, the fact that we're down, we may end up red, because if we continue down from this point here of that 98 area, what's going to happen is our 8 is going to be below the high of Sunday and Monday. We continue down here, which I expect us to hit that, at least come down to the 100-day period moving average, which is sitting at that 95,845 area. And again, this is Bitfinex BTC USD chart. So make sure you understand where your 100-day period moving average is sitting at, so you can understand and take that trade. But that's at this level here. If we hit that, we may get up to the 100 area, but it depends. If things heat up again, we're going to see this thing sell off more, because the markets do not like, inconsistency.
Right.
So there's this thing, and if we start to see China get involved, if we start to see other areas that, now I know China doesn't really like Iran, but Israel is there, and you're starting to have, you like that, don't you? Oh yeah.
Go to Popular.
Hey. So that idea behind that is real simple. Right now, it's kind of a hit and miss right now, but if we continue with what's going on, and that's if that's going on, if something else starts to happen, let's say we start to see the U.S. The S&P 500 really start to fall, right? I mean, you can see here we gapped down, but we went up for the S&P 500. If we really start to see this thing fall, man, we could see a big green or big red candle for the week, because again, you have other market situations that are happening, and all of this consistency in the market causes the market to sell off. And so we'll find out what's happening. Again, a lot of the market reports that have been coming out aren't looking too good for us. And so the reality is this: people are getting laid off. I mean, the fact that the Fed over last week said, I forget the guy's name, said, hey, we need to lower rates.
Governor Waller. Yeah.
Just made it very, we do not guess what's going to happen. It's going to be really bad. And so this is where I'm having, is the rest of the board saying, if we lower rates right now and things really start to fall apart, where do we go? Are we going to go negative? We do like Europe? So this is the issue behind all of this, is that if they keep the rates where they're at, yes, it makes it harder for things to have money generated, keep business going. But also, though, if they do it now, and let's say they start moving it, 25 basis points, 50 basis points, a full 100 basis points. There's, they raised at one time 100 basis points, during COVID,
right,
or a little bit after COVID. So these little things are extremely important to understand, that if they do it too quick, they have nowhere else to go. And they can do quantitative easing, but if they do quantitative easing, again, the Fed puts money on their balance sheet, and they're already broke. They're not making any money. And people don't understand, the Fed is a private organization. They are a private business that makes money for themselves and their shareholders. And you're like, wait, the Fed, how is that possible? The Federal Reserve is literally a private bank, and they loan money out, fake money, to us. And so that fake money, scam, right? It's a great scam, right?
Although to be clear, you're speaking about the regional Federal Reserves. They're owned by their shareholders. The Fed in Washington D.C. is not owned by shareholders. That's just
Federal Reserve.
Remember, the Federal Reserve in Washington, the overall one, it is not owned by private shareholders. The individual banks regionally that actually do the lending, are owned by their member banks. And their member, whoever has an account at the Fed, is an owner at those regional banks. Not like Jerome isn't the head of a private organization. He's that's owned by the banks. The regional ones are owned by the banks. Anyway, it is time for me to do something, Pedro.
Nice.
Let's see if we can get this right here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a great place for online news, discussion, and entertainment, then check out Truth Social, Donald Trump's social media website. You'll get breaking news stories and commentary from top media figures. If you want to see Trump's legendary Truth Social posts, then get on Truth Social today. Join a growing community of patriots on a free speech platform designed to avoid censorship and cancellation by big tech. Make your voice heard. Join the movement. Join Truth Social. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a QR code right here next to me that I'm pointing at. If you've got your phone pointed at the screen, and click that picture for us and let them know that our viewers are interested in their advertising. It's also in your comment screen right now. That in the Rumble comments, there will be a link to Truth Social. And, we just so happen to have our own Truth Social account here. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make sure I'm on it. There it is. Our own Truth Social account here. You can find us on Truth Social at DYOR Media. We post information about the show, the schedules that are coming up. Where is that screen? Hold on one second. Let me make sure I can control that screen. Oh, there it is. And you can see, there's me, and then there's Pedro. And there's a stealth bomber launching the Bitcoin missile into Wall Street. Topic of today's show, Bitcoin targets Wall Street. Pedro, it actually worked out that you were a little late this morning because I talked about how Bitcoin is infecting all aspects of Wall Street, from Michael Saylor on down to just regional banks and that type of stuff. But then we have conversations here in the crypto trading groups and stuff like that about crypto-related things.
I see a Rumble exclusive coffee go-to. Is that
No. We can't talk about coffee right now. This is the Truth Social ad. And so, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, if you're looking for a great place for online news, discussion, entertainment, then check out Truth Social, Donald Trump's social media website. Join Truth Social today. All right, now I've ended the ad.
Nice.
I already did the 1775 coffee one earlier.
Dude, we're actually having people comment on our stuff. Dude, this is awesome. I'm sorry. I don't even care what you guys say. The fact that you're saying stuff, there are people saying stuff on our stuff here. Mir Juna Z, Thomas 7665. That's funny. That is real. I wonder what this guy is about. Greetings, DYOR Network. I hope this message finds you well. Discovering your channel has truly been a pleasure. Your content is not only engaging, but I just don't understand how you are still so small.
Right, here comes the scam.
Dude, I don't even care because it's engaging.
I know, that's how I respond to them. I'm like, thank you for the engagement.
Yeah,
anyway, Crypto Mike says, I've got a weird question. Just came to mind. If the U.S. prints a ton of more cash, like $1 trillion, would that devalue Tether because it's backed by the U.S. dollar? Of course it does. Of course it does. And the more the U.S. dollar devalues because of inflation or money printing in general, there's only so much value to the United States GDP at any one point. And I'm using GDP as the overall value of our currency, which is not exactly correct, but it's an easy way to describe it. The more dollar bills they print, they divide them up. Whoop. It's no different than your token minting a quadrillion coins and rugging y'all. But yes, that is exactly the case, Mike. And it's not a dumb question. It's not at all. That's why so many people want to see more of a Bitcoin settlement layer rather than a U.S. dollar settlement layer to eliminate that inflation of currency and stuff like that.
Oh, this is funny. What a load of crap. This is about a true as Donald Trump is a peace president. Where did this guy go, man?
Is that a comment on our broadcast?
Yeah. It just came up 2 hours ago. I love it.
It's in the Rumble comment section?
Yeah. I'm like messing around with this stuff. This is dope. Tell me, really, your
how do you really feel about this?
And how you really feel. But serious. Alright, cool. Alright. Sorry guys. We gotta mind these comments here. Yeah, dude. It has been it has been really interesting to sit there and see the actual market really respond to this. And interesting, not seeing the S&P 500 drop, but actually seeing Bitcoin drop. That's the part that I'm sitting there going like, huh, like normally these circumstances would have made the S&P 500 drop. The NASDAQ would have just been crushed. I mean, just decimated.
I've had that same revelation, Pedro. Like, why wouldn't war in the U.S., especially the U.S. getting into war, especially with Republicans divided about war. Don't get me started about these people supporting Iran. Oh my God. That's a totally different story. But that the markets wouldn't move to cash, or move to gold is amazing. People want to say the resilience of the market, the resilience of this, resilience of that. I think it's just pure greed. These guys know that they're not getting their year-end commission unless they bank a ton of money before the summer doldrums really start, and then they have to fight for their last few dollars in November and December.
Yep.
So this essentially is the end of the big part of the earning year for people, because Wall Street, like many other businesses, once July 4th hits, really the next work day is the beginning of September. And so they need to bank. So they're trading. They're like, we need to trade. We need to trade. We need to come out with new products. We need to do all kinds of stuff. Looks like we got a little money printer working in Bitcoin right now.
They're going after crypto and dropping it. And I honestly, that's a good thing. You don't understand. If we become the area of liquidity, that means that institutions will use us for fluctuation markets, right? So that they can trade, right? So they can get like 2-3% a day, 4% a day on the crypto markets, and then transition that into, i.e., traditional markets, and the banter back and forth. This is a great isometric trade, a great, and so that relationship there then could add more liquidity to us as we see a lot of the markets move. And that's a good thing. And the reason why I say this is because as we start to move into this area, this is what we saw with a lot of tech back in the 90s and early 2000s, right? And this is where they were able to really put in their base in a lot of the tech stocks. And so this is what we're seeing here. And it's actually really cool to be able to watch. I was too young. I mean, I just didn't understand what was actually happening. I used to go back and look at the charts, go, man, this thing fluctuated 4%, 5%. I mean, tech stocks, right? And then they would just go crazy. And that's what we're seeing a lot right now with Solana, with BTC, with Ethereum. I mean, look at these things. I mean, from 26, in 2 days or in 3 days, look at that, to 21. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's like, what is that? 26 or 25 to 2137. So is it 25? Was that 400? That's literally 20%. Like bam. So it's pretty nice. We came down to our area on Saturday here on Ethereum. Let's check out the trade here real quick. Yeah, now we would not have got into this because look at the volume here. Let's see here real quick. We came down. Let me see this right here. I guess, yeah, we would have gotten this trade because look at the volume coming in, right? Boom. So right here, when we closed above here, we would have put our stop right below. Well, the local low is right here. Once we got a 1-to-1, which we would have got a 1-to-1 right here. Boom, boom. Yeah, shoot, we could have caught that all the way up to there. Boom. Actually, the 1-to-1 would have been right here.
Yeah, could you move that over a little bit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
But this is, ladies and gentlemen, Pedro's referring to
the trade that we had marked out for.
Right. I think it was on, I think it might have been on Thursday's show.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the end of last week, Pedro was talking about a trade. And then as we see over the weekend, Ethereum came right down into everybody's zones.
Yep. So we came down here. You can see right here with the market. We came in with decent volume coming in. Right, we would have been right here. Our 1-to-1 would have been no, nope. As soon as it went up and started to come down, I would have said get out right here once we started seeing volume just drop off here. But if you would have held on to this, you could have got a 1-to-1. If you moved it up from the local swing high to this local low right here and caught this up, yeah, but I would have wanted the 1-to-1 from here. So we would have probably been stopped out here for this trade. Here, let's check this out. But the thing is, we're going down, so this is where it's always a little hard, because this is where you got to sit there and say, are we kind of going in a small time downtrend, right? And in that downtrend, you don't want to take longs, you want to take shorts. So I'm more apt to want to take shorts than longs. I mean, honestly, it's just the way it rolls. So we came down to this area right here. Boom. Boom. Down another local low. Boom, we came down. Not enough volume. Look at this seller volume, smaller volume here. Yeah. We saw this come in right here, so we wouldn't want to have been looking right here. So yeah, we would have done this one most likely. This pullback right here, pull up, come down, play that. We would have put our short right here. From this markup. Boom. 1-to-1 is right here. That one would have worked. Then we would have come back and you would take off 60% right here. Boom, come back down. You would have been stopped out, but you would have still made some money on this. Boom, 10-15%. So we're going to start looking for shorts now in a lot of these, because the fact is that instead of trying to go long in the long market, not that I'm bearish here, but the thing is, if the market's going down, what do? You short. If the market's going up, what do? You buy.
Right.
So those are typically the mindsets that I'm looking at right here. It all depends on how it's playing off of this 100 period moving average, though, for me. Remove.
So I'm guessing, Pedro, a couple of days ago, you would have said where it's playing off where it wicked into that moving average, you would have said, hey, there's a large pool of liquidity down here.
Yeah.
Because from my novice eye looking at the chart here and where some wicks are, I would have said, oh, Pedro would believe that the market's coming down to this level.
Yes.
Right to that 2-2 even number.
Yeah. Or really just the 100-day period move, which is the yellow line here. So that yellow line you can see, which is the 100-day period moving average, right? 100, 200, they typically act as areas of liquidity where the market wants to go to, so it can basically push off of. And this is an institutional, whereas most institutions look at the 100, the 50, the 100, and 200-day period moving averages. And so they make their long-term trades based off of markets of crossing moving averages. So you can see there that the 50 is now below. We touched that 100, but if the 50 and the 100 cross, then typically they want to go, that's a midterm trade of going, okay, we need to kind of wait and see. Well, if we see a 50 and 200-day period cross, which is sitting right, where's my 200? Right here. So the 200 is we're still not above the 200 here. So this is really kind of a bearish sign here. If we roll over and we start to continue down, then I would sit there and say we're most likely coming down to that 1500 area again. Oh, come on, Ethereum. We came up and we hit our area here, which I was happy, but I thought we were going to continue. And this freaking war, dog. What's interesting is many of the countries that are in, that's at war right now, a lot of them use crypto. You know, we see people in many of the telegrams from Iran, and so that idea behind it.
I'm going to explore Antarctica.
Antarctica. So it's one of those things that, are they selling off their crypto so that they need money for war? I mean, it's very much what could be happening. I mean, I know many I know many Jewish businessmen who are from Jewish or from Israel.
They're from Jewish.
Israel. Sorry, they're from Israel, and so within that area, what's interesting is that I know that they buy a lot of crypto. I know that they buy a ton of crypto, and they buy it. And so I wonder if the government itself bought crypto and they're just using that to fund this war. That's why we're seeing it go down.
Well, I am more than certain that the government of Israel has wound up with crypto. They may not have bought it. They may have got it the old-fashioned way, like Chris and Justin say. They seize it.
They seize it. So we're seeing this here. We bounced off of our area here, our demand zone from our supply zone that we talked about. Coming down, we bounced. Nice little good bounce off of. Talked about this trade on Friday as well. We're in between, and this is where Mike, Crypto Mike millionaire, over here. We said he asked me about. I said, listen, we've got the demand zone right here. We'll most likely come down to. We got our supply zone up here. So this is where we played, and we nice little bounce. If you caught that bounce here, Crypto Mike, that's awesome, man. Like I said, if you can trade the Mexi accounts, this would have been a good area to say, all right, we're going to put our low at the local low and then trade it from there. You can see here real quick. Oh, go to 5 minute on this trade. All right, let's check it out. Boom, we came to our area. Can you guys see this?
Oh, I didn't know you switched to BNB. How did I miss that?
Oh, that's okay. Because we're just going over some of the trades that we went over that we talked about on Thursday and Friday. So, and then we're gonna do a bit of a market weekly movement that I think the market will probably do. I kind of went over it over the a few minutes ago, but we'll finish that up here in a second. So we came down to our zone on BNB. Boom. We found support. You can see here. Decent amount of volume coming in. So you can see as I'm looking at that, I would have been like, all right, that exploded out of there. We have decent amount of volume, not excessive, but a decent. So I would have been like, well, I want to see a pullback here. We bounced off that 100. Boom. You could have got in here if you wanted to. You can see we had decent amount of volume. You can see. I don't understand, but I must have got on this really freaking call list. I am literally having like everybody and their mother.
That's why the phone for me is always on do not disturb, except the people I want to receive calls from. I mark them as favorites and they come through. Everyone else, right to voicemail.
Probably start doing that. But you can see here it came down, pushed up. Then once this came in, you can see the volume started coming in. So yeah, you could have caught this here or potentially on the pullback to the 8. And then boom, this trade was actually taking place on your 15-minute chart actually. So you can see here we came in, had a few good candles, decent volume right here. See, we got above the 8 right here. We tapped it right here. So our play would have been right here. We didn't want to get in like around here at this level on the pullback. Our local low would have been here.
And the money printed right out of that zone.
Yeah, boom, played that to right here. Here's our 1-to-1 right here. And then from there, we knew that the next liquidity area was going to be right here, which was the low, which we fell right through. So we would have found it right here or potentially right here. So it depends on where it goes. But yeah, this would have been a nice, good play. So we had one stop out, one dud that we would not have gotten into. But this one played nicely into our hands. We came in and it would have popped up and could have let that go. I mean, 1-to-1, get out 60, 70%, and then captured more profit as come in. Once we close below that 8 period in the crossover right here, you said get out, or you could have got out right here as we cross above the 8, right? So your first position is 60%. The next position you could have wanted to get out right here of the close at 15% or 20%, and then the next one maybe here or up here. It depends on where you were willing to let it run to. But that would have been a great trade for us. Next one. No, not this one. What other trades did we go over? Man, we need to start writing these down. XRP, go over XRP. Yeah, XRP selling off. We knew that this was going to turn around and come down to this lower level here.
You always know XRP is going to sell off. That's just guaranteed. They're like, oh, shit, we just hired another 72 financial blockchain engineers at $500,000 each. But we need to sell a bunch of XRP to pay for it.
Well, that I heard somebody talking about that Ledger blockchain, and was really interesting to hear their views. Like, it was really, another thing. I was talking to somebody last night about. She was kind of worried, but she was kind of upset with America, saying America is causing this issue with. She's from Jamaica. She's like, we're going out there bombing, and President Trump was supposed to be no war president, a peace president. And he went out and bombed. And I said, well, and she was afraid that, bombers were going to come into America and start hurting us.
What?
And I said,
is this lady retarded?
Well, she doesn't know.
How can she not know?
Because she just came over legally, started working. She has a visa. She's a nurse. And during COVID, they needed nurses really bad, so she applied and came over, and then now she's staying, and she's working, and she's getting her citizenship. She married some guy, fell in love with her, and trying to marry her, and she's like, whatever. But she's, they got married, and so he's a good guy. So the reason why is she's new here, right? She's been over to Europe quite a bit. She's gone over and she's seen the bombings that happen with a lot of the terrorist organizations, and so I had to sit there and tell her, I said, you do not understand how advanced the American military is here in America. Listen, Snowden, if you watch that movie, it is not a lie. There's no fanciful, if anything, I think they downplayed a lot of the technology that we really have.
I know. It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, and so one of the things I said is, and this I can actually come out, I won't get in trouble saying this, back in the day when I was in the Coast Guard and many other organizations, because Coast Guard is the Homeland Security First Defense, one of the things that they do, as well as the National Guard, right? They are sent out to, you play war games, and so what you do is they'll sit there and say, all right, we have an invader or an insurrectionist or whatever it be, right? And your job is to find them. We know that they kind of look like this, and these are your tools. And one of the tools that you can use is a phone vocal system. And so we kind of know what they sound like. And so anytime they speak, it will register. If they walk by somebody, it will register, and we know what their voice sounds like the majority of the time.
Where are you going with this, Pedro?
Well, I basically told her, and I said to her, I said, you don't have to worry about people bombing places here in America. The reality is America pretty much knows where everybody's at, and that's not a good thing. But at least it's the truth, And so right now, I just let her know, look, don't worry about this. Like, she was scared.
I'm sure some asshole will do something, and either a self radicalized butt munch, drive cars into a crowd or something like that. I mean, every festival I go to now, there's bollards or dump trucks blocking the way so cars can't drive in, but something will happen. But it's not like it's going to be why all of a sudden, like, every city's going to get blown up. I mean, we have to remember that, first of all, Donald Trump told people starting in 2011 that Iran should never have nuclear weapons. And it's true. You should never have a crazy regime have something that they would use on their enemies. And then when he became elected in 2016, took office in 17, he said they will not have nuclear weapons. And he tried to actually put a deal together so that wouldn't happen. They could develop nuclear stuff for their electricity sector, but not step it up to weapons grade. And then they just lied, cheated, stole the whole time, fooled the monitors, and all this type of stuff. And so Trump said, all right, let's sign a deal. We're going to pull out of the old deal, sign a new deal, or else. And Iran gave us the middle finger.
Yes,
and frankly, it's my opinion that this whole business of Israel independently attacking Iran, when you look at the strategy involved and the surprise aspect and all that, it made sense for the U.S. and Israel to collaborate on this and say, all right, you guys started off. We'll give you all the targeting info you want. You guys have the spy network on the ground. We'll take care of the, providing you all the weapons and all this type of stuff that you guys need more of. And then we'll come in after you guys have wiped out their air defenses, and we'll put the mother of all bombs, or the massive ordnance penetrator to good use. And that had to have been done. And so if Iran says, like, Iran just fired some missiles at one of our missile bases, or our military bases in Qatar, it's been reported. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not. But the point is that they don't, in a shooting match with the U.S., Iran is going to lose every time. They're losing every time with Israel, little country the size of New Jersey.
Literally.
And
New Jersey is one of our smallest states.
Right. For those of you who don't know, New Jersey is like the size of the Netherlands, or the size of Uruguay is much bigger than New Jersey. It's small. It's a small place. In Israel, it's small. You can drive the whole country in like an afternoon. And it would just be bad for them. It would be very bad, and bad things would happen. Anyway, we got on a sidetrack there while we're going over these things. That's all right.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is just that America, the way we do things, man, we are the smartest. We are the bully. We didn't want to be the bully. But it's like this. We didn't want to be the bully. We tried to step away from not being the bully. But then chaos happened among the world because other people wanted to be the bully. And we're like, you're being a stupid bully. So now we got to be the smart bully who puts everything back in check. And so now we're having to be the bully again, which, I have to say, is we're kind of the genius bully. We're not a dumb bully. We're kind of a genius. Now, we do stupid things sometimes, but
we sure do.
We're pretty smart. But we're a pretty smart bully when it comes to our movements. And so I think it's like one of those things. And again, I don't like it, but it's like somebody who is, if we don't do it, people who want that position.
If the U.S. is not the hegemon, somebody else will be. And do you want that to be China or India? No. They have different cultures than us. They have different ways of doing things. And Russia could never be the hegemon. There's just no way. They just don't have enough people. They would only be able to do it by force. We're the hegemon because people choose to allow us to be the hegemon. Because of our dollar, because of our military. If they didn't back our dollar, we wouldn't be able to pay for our military. It's all a big thing, and it's by choice. The world says we want the U.S. to, much as people bitch and moan and complain about it. U.S. this, U.S. that. Ultimately, people vote with their money. And they voted with their money to back the United States dollar, which backs the United States military, which backs the U.S. dollar, which backs the military, which backs the dollar, backs the military, in a circle. And it's voluntary. This is not being forced on the world, viewers. This is a concept that everyone has to know. None of this is being forced on you. You have chosen it. If you're in the U.S., you participated in elections and you participate in the currency markets in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., you have chosen because your country supports the U.S. dollar. In every country of the world, the U.S. dollar is either the number one currency traded and used for buying things, or number two. It is not 5, 10, 12. In countries where the euro is the number one in much of Europe, the U.S. dollar, in fact, in not all countries of the EU is the euro the number one currency. I just looked that up again recently. But some of the smaller countries that still have a weak, the Eastern European ones still do much of their international trading in dollars. But The world has chosen us for that. And the world will never choose Russia for that. They will never choose China for that. And they will never choose India for that. And people don't understand. Because people vote with the security of their money. They said, if they have to leave their country, Pedro, if you have to run out of Guatemala with all your cash and stuff like that, and you say, my government's falling, I need to go somewhere safe. Where's the first place you're going to go?
America.
US. You're going to say, I'm going to go to China? No.
Gonna go to Russia.
Let's go to Russia. Woo! Let's go to Iran. This is the conversation I have about BRICS, and then we could go on forever talking about that. But people vote with their money, and this whole thing that the U.S. has put their position in as the hegemon with the money, hegemon with the military, people have done that, and they've chosen us to do it because we're the only ones, no matter who we elect to office.
Yeah.
We're the only ones the world trusts to do it. And so we end up bombing people's nuclear stuff. Wait. You know why we didn't bomb North Korea's nuclear weapons site, Pedro? Because they don't have any. That was all BS. They don't have a nuclear bomb. They have the facilities to think they'll make one, and they say, oh, we detonated one. But amazingly, not one neutrino came through any of the neutrino detectors anywhere in the world. Not a gamma ray, anything, whatever you want to measure it. So we didn't bomb them, but Iran's getting close, and these crazy ayatollahs want to blow up Israel. They want them to go away, and we've had it. And I've had it. Unlike many of our viewers, I was alive in the 70s and watched our embassy being taken hostage, and criticized President Carter for doing nothing. Ultimately, he tried to do something, some crappy rescue mission that was poorly planned. And when you go watch the documentaries, you're just like, oh, God, Jesus. It was a low probability of success. What he should have done is gone to war. And we had just come off the Vietnam War and all that type of stuff. And he should have gone to Congress and say, if these people don't release our hostages in one day, I want a declaration of war. And the Congress would have given it to him. And he did, because Jimmy Carter's not that type of guy. And we've been suffering at the hands, and the world has been suffering at the hands of the Iranian government. And they've been pissing us off. They've been killing us. They've killed millions of people. They've killed their own people. They've ruined the country of Syria. They ruined the country of Lebanon. They ruined the country of Iraq. I can go on. They've wrecked Gaza. The Iranian influence in Gaza is what destroyed that whole thing.
But you also need to also explain the reason why they wrecked, because they put in religious radicals or radical religious people as the leadership, and then they take away people's rights that they used to have. I mean, dude, Iran, if you go back in the 60s, right, and we look at Iran, dude, it was indistinguishable between an American city, right? It looked the same. And then you go back and you look at it now, it's a totally different circumstance.
Just like Afghanistan. In fact, I know somebody who traveled to Afghanistan in like 72. And she went there by herself. She was like a world traveler back then, and now she's an old lady. And she said it was gorgeous. It's like a European city. She said it was just like Turkey. A very secular religion, modern cities, all that, just what you would expect of the 70s. And Tehran was like that too. And now it's not, because they ruined it. Anyway, we could talk politics for a long time, Pedro, but check out Bitcoin. No, we were talking about it tanking, and all of a sudden, Bitcoin, it did the money printer model. They did a liquidity sweep here, came up, came back down into the 618 pocket, the golden pocket, and then and just decided to launch back up above 100,000, back at 102. It's still going. I still got my trade on. I was down some money. But now I'm up $26. 26 whole bucks. Yep. Nice. And this is a real trade. I'm allowing myself to trade real trades this week on certain models.
I love it.
Yep. And look, and I've got my stop order here at my take profit. Oh, let me make sure I have it right. It's just before the previous high. Right at.
Okay, so here's the thing I want to bring up, and I think this is so interesting. So Iran I hate to go back here, but I just got a breaking news that Bitcoin falls under 100,000 as Iranian attack on U.S. is reported imminent.
Oh, what is that? Is that like a CNN feed or something?
No, this is Watcher Guru.
Oh, well, Watcher Guru he's Russian, so.
Right. I don't disagree, but I just found it really interesting to sit there and go, you know, like, I think it's kind of funny.
All right, let's game this out again. This is
let's game it.
Let's game it out. All right, so the other day, last week, Pedro, we saw not all, but a big chunk of the United States air refueling tankers head to Europe. And everyone's like, what the hell's going on? We saw the B2s go to Guam, or at least go to Hawaii. I don't know if they ever actually went to Guam. In the feint,
but
faking
have
the people
out.
Oh,
we have a lot.
We have a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff. But and so that set the precedent, or the premise, or whatever, the setup for the bombing over there. And those tankers have not returned to the U.S. We saw the B2s come back and land. Everyone cheered. People were photographing them back. And the tankers, because they're essentially commercial airplanes, follow the commercial air routes, all this type of stuff. They can't fly higher. They can't fly at 60,000 feet. And they also have to identify themselves in the air. They can't fly that many tankers across the ocean without hiding. The world of tracking airplanes is too good for that. They're still over there. Now, they're still over there for a reason. Because if the Iranians do something stupid over here, what's going to happen? More B2s, bitches. That's what's going to happen.
Come and knock on my door. Come and knock on my door.
The Ayatollah's been waiting for you. There's going to be a MOP coming up your butthole.
Yeah. So.
And a rumble thing goes through the roof.
Is it really? Oh, wow.
Thank you to everyone watching. We were up to 25 for a minute. Thank you to everyone watching us on Rumble. It really makes a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're trying to grow. YouTube's not been good to us lately. The discussions, Pedro and I. All right. For some reason, this talk that we have, YouTube doesn't like in Rumble.
At all.
So thank you for everyone that's joining us over there, right?
Yeah. Hey, guys, if you do us a favor quick, we're trying to get to 200 subscribers. If you're new here, we really appreciate every one of you guys. Please just log in, subscribe. Log in. You don't need to pay for premium. If you go in, just set up a profile, hit the subscribe button. That helps us out so much. If you hit the like and subscribe and share, if I could push you to share, I'd really thank you. And click on that link as well. Helps us out. We're a small network here, and we're growing. We're actually growing, and we're trying to just give real information and talk about both sides of the situation. Whether you're pro or against this, we want to talk about it, and we want to be able to talk about it in a way that is tied to the markets and how the markets actually move in relationship to this. And our goal is to help you guys. I guess we're not financial advisors, so we can't sit there and tell you what to do with your money, but I tell you what I do with my money, and we make trades and we do stuff like that. So and we're pretty good. We keep helping people go on vacations and going on nice little trips. And so we take safe trades that basically put, small little wins in your pocket, and you're able to do cool stuff with it. If you want to, please hit the like, subscribe, and share button, and that helps us out tremendously as a small channel. Thank you again over at Rumble and any other places that we're streaming. Please go in and hit the subscribe button. So with that said, all right, Tom. So the question is so you're doing good on your trade here. I absolutely love it. My question for you is this.
What's that, sir?
Where is your out?
My out, if you can look at the studio feed,
okay,
you'll see that my take profit is right at the previous high earlier in the day. And I'll probably I'm going to just let it go up a little bit here if it chooses to do so. If it chooses not to. If it chooses to go down, I'll just close it out and take my money and run. But I'll probably front run the trade as it goes up to that and close it out. I forgot to say, I've already taken profits out of the trade.
Yep. I understand.
I've already taken 40%. I took $18 out, and there's still $25 in it. So
nice. Absolutely. That's nice, brother. You're making...
And at the time, I took the $18 out. There was only 7 left in it. It's because I had taken the majority of it out and let the runner run. And the runner ran from, it was having trouble. It's hard to see. Let me move this up here. It got rejected as it was coming up here. It popped through the 200 period moving average. And I'm like, yeah, baby, it's going to run. And it got rejected. And then came up and kind of got rejected again. And came up and get it. But it wasn't until it came back and touched the 8 period moving average, Pedro. And then
the daily, just, or which one?
Oh, I'm on the 1 minute chart. Come on, man.
Ooh,
daily.
1 minute.
This is.
Well, here's the thing. The reason why I say is we're coming up to the 8 here. So we're coming up for liquidity to see it come back. So it all depends on what's actually happening here. Let me move this.
And so my out here is in, yeah. Well, it looks like it's going to, no, you never say it looks like it's going to do it. The market does what it does. But my plan is to have the trade close out here in about $60.
Nice, man. Nice.
And it just did. It just hit it right now on that green candle. And that was a trade that, oh boy, this Mexi is running slow today. Wow. Woo! It was a 94% return on that one trade.
Nice, man. Nice. And again, it's just little wins, man. You want to mitigate your losses and let your runners run. You know, that's the key. That's what puts money in your pocket as a trader, and then also allows you to keep growing, allows you to keep trading. And the biggest part behind this is making sure that you're chronicalizing your trades, making sure that you're logging every trade, reason why you got into the trade, why you put your stop where it is, as well as your target where it could, and your thoughts behind it, why you think it was going to do. And the key is when you go back at the end of the week and you read through your trades, you'll sit there like, what was I thinking? That's dumb. Of course it was this. And then that will evolve, and you'll just slowly become a better trader, a better executioner of the trade itself. Like if your execution is great, but you have a poor trade, you'll make money. You know what I'm saying? Because your execution is just as important as your actual trade itself. So those little things are super important to understand.
As you said, at the end of the week, when you go back and say, oh, I review a trade, I never have to do that, Pedro. Because within 3 seconds, I know exactly what I did wrong on a losing trade. And it's more like this.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. It's always good to also give yourself some time and go back at the end of the week. Always go back at the end of the week and just look at your trades. Those will help. I promise you will pull so much alpha from just going back at the end of the week and analyzing. Because here's the thing. You're going to go through and you're going to start catching and understanding not just that you made a mistake at the current time period, but also that you keep doing it. Like you'll start to see, oh, wait, about this time or around this period, I always get stopped out. What am I not seeing? And then all of a sudden you'll sit there and go, you know what? This is the reason why. Oh, wow, I never even thought about that. You'll go and research that, why maybe at this time. And then it will allow you not to get stopped out as much. It's the group, the law of large numbers teaches you, gives you analysis of what is actually happening. And so that's why I always say at the end of the week, take an hour or two and go back and look at your trades. At first, it will just seem like a bunch of numbers and you're just like, I'm not really getting anything out of it. But here's the thing, your brain has this ability to literally see trends. It's the way our brains work, especially men. Our minds are literally crafted that way to see trends with the prefrontal cortex and how it's all designed. And so interesting is that as we start to sit there over maybe 2-3 weeks, a month or two, you'll sit there and go, oh my goodness, that makes sense. You know, it's almost like looking back at like it's like going over the hills, right, over and over and over. Like, why is this so bumpy like this? And then you come down the valley into the valley area, and you look back and go, oh, we're going through a you know, a little hill country, right? And that's what that's like. And so you can learn and put together or link things together that you wouldn't necessarily been able to do in link. So I always tell everybody, that's why you write down and chronicleize all your trades, reasons why, your stop, the reason your entry, and the reason your target. and that helps you out.
And while you were saying that, I was just entering that information in my Excel spreadsheet.
Awesome. It's funny, I gave Tom a spreadsheet that I use for trading, and he's like, bro, that's so much, I don't need all that. And
eventually I will. Right now,
yeah, you will.
Nope.
Keep it simple. Keep it as simple, and then as you evolve, then you add more. I need this statistic, I need that statistic, I need to set this up, and then it just allows you just to get better. It's an amazing thing how things start to grow. On the other hand, nice trade, my friend. I love it. Look at that. Boom, a lot of push up, starting to come back down. Good trade, man. Good trade. So, long story short, let me ask you a quick question. So what are your thoughts on the new MiCA bill over in Europe and what's actually happening now? Because I know that you stay abreast with that.
Actually, I haven't looked at the Europe has been, they passed the whatever the name of the law is.
What is it?
Markets and Crypto Act or whatever the hell it is. I can't remember. Anyway, they passed that last year or 2 years ago. And at the beginning of this year, January 1st, 2025, certain regulations kicked in with a grandfather clause for most things till the end of this year, unfortunately. But it's already taking effect. In fact, I had this article right here, Pedro. I just had it up and running. The EU risks becoming a crypto flyover zone between US and Asia. The United States crypto-friendly approach has given the EU a shot in the arm as it mulls an update to its 2023 MiCA regulations. While MiCA placed the EU in the forefront of crypto regulation, it risks falling behind as jurisdictions emerge with more flexible approaches to digital assets. They just come out and say that Europe did a good thing by bringing some regulation to the market, but as typical with Europe, they overregulated things, and they made it actually less desirable to do business in Europe for many types of products, including stablecoins. Tether, the number one stablecoin in the world, wasn't going to qualify to work in Europe, and I can understand people wanting to have their sovereign rights and regulate their markets as they want. But it's the equivalent of passing a regulation over here in the car business that said cars can't have four wheels. You're like, wait a minute, we make all the cars with four wheels now. We can't just change that. Let's, if you want to move to a 3-wheel or a 5-wheel car, we need to do it over time. I'm not going to start another topic, but and so they kind of goofed up over there. They made things too strict. They said stable coins have to be, most of your currency in your backing has to be held in European banks. And they're like, no, that's the point. We don't trust the European banks. European banks don't fail because they're very heavily regulated. And I mean, they do fail, but rarely. And if they are, they're bailed out by the government or by the other banks. And so crypto companies are still avoiding Europe. And so this article just happened to be prescient that you mentioned it, is that they're mulling an update to it. And they're going to have to relent on stable coins because otherwise many countries in Europe will just be doing trades in USDT or USDC, whether or not MiCA allows it. What's the head of Slovenia? He's going to be like, well, we need to buy oil in dollars, so we're going to use USDT. And they're like, well, it's not legal in Europe. He's going to go, tough noogies. I don't care. We need that oil. We need it cheaply, and this saves us money doing it, and it's faster.
What's the old Italian? Baffanculo.
You're right, exactly.
I probably shouldn't say that. But I was actually was talking to a guy yesterday. It was at church, and we were talking about a couple of things, and he was like, "Well," and I was like, bro, you just said like the F word, dog. Like we're at church, and he goes, none of these guys know, because we were talking about you got real heated, but I just thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh my goodness. So it's stuck in my head now. It was hilarious. Anyways, yeah, it's really interesting that they're going to have to relent, like you said, and I think it's really interesting to see how they're trying to really, because right now crypto is still very obtuse and very intersecting. Like it's not necessarily in a clear pathway. There's a lot of intersections, and it's really hard to really kind of get a grasp of it. And so for them just to already come in and just set up all these legislation in a period where it's not developed yet. You know what I'm saying? It's like giving your newborn child, or excuse me, it's like giving your child in your stomach rules he's got to follow. He's still developing, or she's still developing. Like how's that gonna work? So yeah, it's real interesting to see what's actually happening there. And it's really interesting to even see America come in, and they're still just working with crypto at large. So I think that's really interesting as well, that we're not seeing if they're not coming again, like not heavy-handed, but anyway, okay, let's get this in. They're like, all right, it's developing, and they're working it out. And a lot of the laws, even there, are still loose-leafed, right? It's still movable. So it's really interesting to see what's happening, especially with the Stablecoin Act, the Genius Act, and the other one, I forget what it is, but it's really interesting to see how they're actually going through and setting this up and moving forward with it. So it's going to be really, I think, over the next 2 years, 3 years, while the Trump administration is taking care of that, working it out. And the fact is, the majority of those guys, David Sachs is very much in crypto. He understands crypto on an intrinsic level, even though like sometimes some of the other guys I hear talking about crypto, I'm like, bro, you don't even know what you're talking about. And there was one time where I actually made a comment in the comment section of the YouTube channel I was listening to with them on the All In podcast, and I literally told the guy, I go, bro, if David Sachs was here, and that statement that you made, he would call you an idiot and tell you to be quiet. I'm not, you don't know what he made some comments about stablecoin, and then Tremoff stepped in and was like, bro, the reality is that stablecoins are going to allow for a lot of money to get freed up, because you're going to be able to, you're not going to have to sit there and get feed by 2%, 3% every time you transact business of billions of dollars. And that's a lot of money when you're transacting and sending hundreds of millions and billions of dollars every year. And I was like, good job, Tremoff. Yes. But anyhow, it's going to be really interesting to see as we move forward here and seeing what the legislation is going to kick in. On the other hand, breaking news, actually it's not breaking news, but President Trump says, keep oil prices down. You are playing right into the hands of the enemy. I want to sit there and say, but we're a free market, Mr. President. I agree with you. Go ahead.
Well, when you bomb people, especially oil countries, price going up.
Yeah. But what the reason why I bring that up is he said that, and bro, market dropped, dog. Like I'm not joking, dude. I'm like, oh damn, that was a bit surreal. And we're not talking like a small move, bro. We're talking 4 or 8.7 points, man. Look at this. It went from $78 all the way down currently to $69.
Hold on, I didn't have your screen up. I'm just pulling it up now.
Oh,
system running slow today.
It's all right. It's all right. I just thought that was really interesting that at first people thought you can't do this to the markets and stuff. But and again, I'm all for free market. But I'm just shocked that they sat there and said, okay, yes, sir. I saw that come out, a little this morning, and I was like, come on, man. What are you doing? And then I saw crude oil this afternoon, or this morning, starting to sell off again. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And then boom, dude, by 12 o'clock, man, look, dude, it just started to go. It's all right, we're done. I was sitting there going wow, that is that's, hey, stop trying to push the market up.
Here, but bring up like a 12-hour or 8-hour chart or something like that.
Well, actually, 4 hours even looks better. The 4-hour looks better.
There we go. The spike was like yesterday, I assume, last night at some point.
Yeah, that boom opened up, and it sold off. So it's just real funny.
That's because before this, I was listening to people talk about crude oil. I think it was on Bloomberg on Surveillance, their radio podcast. They were talking about likely the price would be going up because of what everyone believes would be an expanding war.
Yeah.
You know, if Tehran shot some missiles at Qatar, warned the Qatari government they were coming to one of the military bases, and I believe all the missiles were shot down, or whatever the story was, nothing big, and that was over their night. But you would think that would force the price up, but Trump said, price needs to go down. The oil market said, okay, boss, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of like what happened, like just straight up, like, stop playing games.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if, that the Saudi, he just called up one of his friends in the Saudi government, said, look, just sell a bunch of the futures. It would be interesting to see where the price decrease started. If it started in the futures market, that means he made a call. Mohammed, just sell a bunch of shit. Yeah, you'll make the money back next week when it goes up. Yeah, fine. Okay, bye.
Or he probably said, listen, sell it off, and we'll buy some from you. Stop playing games. Right? And he's like, gotcha, boss. Right? Like, the man makes deals, dog. Like I said, what bully do you want? That's it. Like, what?
Crypto Mike says, dude, Rumble rocks. I just had to go for a walk to the store real quick. It keeps playing the sound while it's closed and in the background. I didn't miss a peep. Yeah, that's with YouTube, they make you pay for that. With Rumble, that's part of it as it is. Mike, you had a question earlier about, I'll address it while you're listening. Could someone start a token or coin like Tether, but back it not with the US dollar, but with a basket of currencies? Well, of course they could. Of course, you could start a stable coin and back it with the dog poo from your neighbor's garden. But the trick is, will people value it appropriately? Remember, every product is successful because the market trusts it or not. Things are successful in two ways. There's a gun pointed at you. Yes, boss, I'll do that. Or two, you vote with your money. And those are the only two ways in the world things are successful in financial products. And so if things are going to be successful, people would have to say, that's a good idea. We're going to make a stable coin that's based on all these different currencies. However, that gets complicated. It gets complicated quickly, and you could end up in a situation in which you had overexposure, or I should say under asset valued, and wind up with a Luna type situation or something like that.
Well, Luna was a little bit different, right? Because they were more of an algorithmic stable coin, and the system basically, when it saw that lack liquidity, would create liquidity, and then that circumstance a little bit. But I would kind of say more or less that when you look at Justin Sun's USDD, or excuse me, USD, forgive me, I think it's USD, which is Tron stablecoin, they've actually got a smart system. They actually buy gold, a lot of other.
Wait, hold on. Before you tangent that one, let me finish off talking to Mike. Think of the euro, Mike. The euro is essentially a stable coin for the countries of Europe. It's a common currency. And they decided to value their economy, each individual country, on a common currency. And it's essentially the same thing. And in the value of the euro is the collective GDP and productivity and trust and security of the European countries, all 27 of them, or however many there are. And there would be wouldn't be any different really if those countries still had their own currencies. And there was also a euro sitting on top of it, and there was official exchange rates between the two. It would essentially be the same thing. And that would be the same thing with a stable coin. Just difficult to manage. And as we all know, when things get difficult to manage in digital assets, bad things happen, and bad things happen to the prices. But obviously, if they did something like that and it was official, it would have some sort of official backing by governments and blah, 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 blah.
That's really cool. Well, let's go over Bitcoin real quick, and shout out to everybody who was watching us today. I want to thank you all. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark, which is typically we're a 2-hour show. I'm going to throw out real quick. Tomorrow's going to be Technical Tuesday. I've got some stuff we can really go over. That's basically where I go over from the U.S. I go over the world's economy in the there are some ETFs. The URITH, I forget what they call it, the URTH ETF, which is basically goes over the world and how the world is doing, all the way into what America's doing. We look at gold, we look at crude oil, we look at the US dollar, we look at bonds, interest rates. And we talked about, I said last Tuesday that I'm expecting the yields to drop because some of the circumstances that are going on. If you see, we're already starting to sell off down. And so, now we're coming down here to the next level. So we're going to go over that for yields and where we think yields will most likely go. We also go over bonds themselves correlated to yields. Also, we go over all the major stocks out there and how they correlate with the stock market and what I expect to see happening there. And then from there, we go into crypto and how crypto is related to all of these and how the interplay happens. And so I want to encourage everyone, you guys over on Rumble, to come tomorrow, or at least catch the video and hit the like button on it if you like what I have to say. If not, then okay. And you can always go back to a lot of the Technical Tuesday videos that we have in the past, and you can track me and see if I'm right or not. And yeah, that's all I got to say.
That's why we call him Pedro Damas, ladies and gentlemen. I know he hates it, but it doesn't matter. It works. It works, and our fans know it. They love the excitement knowing that the market's going to be called.
So either way, I want you guys to come check it out and see what. And if you don't like it, call me. I don't like that long hair, big nose Mexican guy, and I'm totally okay with that. And you can make fun of me being Irish or what else is descent. I have a lot of descents. I'm a mutt. So whatever one you don't like, just call me and I'm cool with it. Again, as you can tell, I've kind of got a thick skin, so I enjoy the game and banter back and forth. Alrighty then, that's enough what I gotta say.
I had a couple other news stories here, Pedro, but most of them are not time sensitive. We'll hit them
go
tomorrow.
Real quick.
Oh, I'm totally not ready to, and I've already put them out of my head.
Okay, yeah.
I could open up a whole nother topic about Sailor scaling back his buying as the prices are wavering here in times of war, but we'll talk about that tomorrow.
I want to know. No. I want to hear about it. I'm sorry. You just opened that can of worms. What happened? What's going on?
The company only bought 245 Bitcoin this weekend. On his Michael's been buying on Sundays lately.
Yeah.
And hopefully he bought them after the market sold off this Sunday. I only spent $24.8 million at current pricing between June 16th and June 22nd. They now hold almost 600,000 Bitcoin, valued at $60 billion. The firm's latest Bitcoin buy was its second smallest acquisition. Came amid this year, rising geopolitical uncertainty. Snapped up 250, blah, blah, blah. The Virginia-based software firm bought the tokens for an average price of $105,000, of course, higher than the market. The relative modest acquisition comes amid a dramatic escalation of tensions in the Middle East, a development that is driving investors from risk on assets like cryptocurrencies to safe haven investments such as gold. Now, I disagree with that, as we just talked about that earlier, that the markets should be going down a lot more. Gold is obviously, as you mentioned earlier, appreciating, but it's not like holy shit, let's buy as much as this we can, type stuff. It's not like gold's going to be $6,000 an ounce here in a week. But that's not the point. The point is that even sailors are like, all right, let's we bought a lot lately, and what does you can say, well, that those 245 Bitcoin that he only paid 24 million for, they could be worth 245 million in 5 years. And so you think, well, that's a big thing for them. Buy a little now, it's worth a lot later if the price appreciates a lot. But as a percentage, like I keep bringing this up, Pedro, as a percentage of his overall holdings, he could buy, another $6 billion worth, and it's only 10%. Is that 10% worth the trouble he's putting his company through? Let me rephrase that. Trouble isn't the right word. It's obviously successful, so I shouldn't say it's trouble. Adding to the risk. Or should he take some breather time for a little bit? Say, I'm going to chill for a little bit here. My opinion, they should chill. Chill and let the corporate structure catch up. There's people suing him, saying, you didn't tell us there'd be this much risk, even though that's appreciated and they've made tons of money. This is the best scam on the planet with the judicial system, is that you can invest in a company. And this doesn't happen in Bitcoin. You can invest in a company and the stock goes up. And then you look at what they're doing and you're like, I disagree with it. So you sell the stock. You sell it. The price goes down a little bit, just goes down a little bit, and you sell it. And you're like, yeah, I disagree with that. That strategy's not going to work. We're gonna sue. They didn't disclose that strategy was that risky, that the stock price may go down. In fact, go down. And then, of course, just like in Bitcoin, when you sell it, the price just rockets, up. And so all these people that are suing him for getting too risky investments sold when Bitcoin was at the equivalent of $20,000, and MicroStrategy stock was, valued at that price too. And if it, like everything else, if you just held on to it, you'd have been stinking rich. And instead, you're suing, and they'll probably win, because the lawyers they'll end up at some kind of settlement or arbitration in which, they only use 300 words to describe the risk in Bitcoin, and the average disclosure is 306 words. So, that's 1 billion, bonk, something like that. Anyway, but I thought that was interesting that at least Saylor said let's scale this back a little bit.
Well, it's interesting that the fact is he's never ever not said that he wasn't going to buy Bitcoin. He never said he was going to diversify his portfolio. He never said that he was going to go through and set up certain things that will allow him to have a less risky portfolio. He's always said, I'm going to buy Bitcoin. I will always buy Bitcoin. I will do whatever I can to buy Bitcoin.
But remember, there's a difference. There's a difference in what you say versus what is in your prospectus that you filed with the SEC.
I would assume that would have been part of his thing.
Yeah, and people claim that in his prospectus, even though I'm sure nobody read it in the first place, that it didn't adequately describe the risks, and so that made people chicken out and they sold. And some of them sold at a loss because they bought their stock at $21 and sold it at $19, and they're like, oh, yeah, we lost. And then, of course, the stock rocketed to $1 bazillion after that.
But that doesn't make sense, bro. Like he started buying Bitcoin. I mean, we've seen it when it was at, 3,000.
I know.
He was buying it at 3,000, 2,000, back. I mean, if you look at where he was buying, I mean, he was buying back in 2020, right? And he was buying a ton of money. I think down here when he hit 3,000, like he has the biggest, like these are some of his biggest buys. So
yeah, I know. It's just, I know. But people probably win some money on it. Anyway, we've come to the end of the show here. I was hoping we'd get one more ad read in here. They didn't send it to us, because I think we needed about 10 more viewers. But usually the number of viewers on YouTube compounds it and adds them up. But the YouTube viewers didn't show up today because the algorithm there doesn't like us. For whatever reason, which sucks balls. Striking balls, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
play by the rules.
Tomorrow, make sure you come by tomorrow. Tomorrow's Technical Tuesday, in which we go over how the world's economies affect your bags. It's a good edge, even if you don't really follow any of that stuff. It's a great way to learn about it. So when you listen to the news and they tell you certain things, you can go, "That's bullshit. I heard Pedro explain it correctly, and the news guys got it wrong again," or they've biased it in a certain way because Pedro told me what it's all about. So that's the goal of tomorrow's show, Technical Tuesday. Make sure you're there, ladies and gentlemen. As always, it'll be at noon tomorrow. And as always, the man in the box next to me is none other than Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here. So glad to have hosted another great episode of this show on this great network. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you guys. Have a good day.